This is Gemara in Sotah Daf Chaf Aleph, and we're holding on Chaf Aleph Amid Aleph, approximately 8 lines from the top, the 2 dots in which the Gemara quotes the words of the Mishnah, V'yeshchos Taila Gimel Shanim, that if this woman who unfortunately committed a crime, but she has a chusim, and we're going to see what precisely those chusim are. What's the din? Taila Gimel Shanim, for 3 years she could live. She'll live, and then 3 years later she will die due to the Aveira that she did. Says the Gemara's Chos Demai. What is the Chos that allows this woman to live for 3 years? And again, let's just remind yourself that we finished in the previous year on the Tabu Chaval from an Aleph, learning that the source was from the Nebuchadnezzar, in which there was 3 times Al Shleisha Pishay Adam, and 3 times 12 months. That's what we learned to 3 years that she could live for. Now, what was the schos by Nebuchadnezzar? A guy giving tzedakah. Says the Gemara's chos temaylim is chos Torah. If you're going to tell me that this woman learned Torah, asks the Gemara, a woman is not obligated to learn Torah, and therefore the Gemara can't fathom that the schar of something that she's not obligated to. As we know, there's more schar for something that you're obligated to do. So the Gemara can't fathom that the schar of something that you're not obligated to do would be enough to keep her alive for 3 years. We parenthetically mentioned that even though we're seeing over here a woman does not have an obligation to learn Torah, of course she has an obligation to learn that which is relevant to her. What does that mean? For example, that means the halachas that are relevant to a woman. She has an obligation to learn those halachas. But the schar that she's going to get for learning those halachas are for learning the halacha of a mitzvah that's relevant to her. But not the shpitz, not the quintessential, the high level schar that one gets for learning Torah. Today we're going to have a lot of the famous Gemaras about schar of Torah, etc. Says the Gemara, lo schos de mitzvah. So it must be that it was the schos of a mitzvah that she did. Asks the Gemara, schos de mitzvah mi magna kulei. Can a mitzvah's schos protect, be megin so much that for 3 years she's going to stay alive due to mitzvahs that she did? V'atani, we learned in a brayso, as Ziu Darash Rav Menachem Bar Yosi Darshins, the famous pasuk in Mishlei. Shlomo HaMelech teaches us, ki ner mitzvah v'Torah are, the mitzvahs are the ner, are the candle, and the Torah is the light, is the flame. And it explains the Gemara, Tala HaKasav es ha-mitzvah b'ner, the pasuk equates the mitzvahs with the candle, ves ha-Torah b'ar, and the Torah with the light. Sa mitzvah b'nar, what does it mean that the mitzvahs are the ner? Loim l'cha to teach you, ma ner einoi magina, elo l'fi, just like a ner only protects l'fi, temporarily, the amount of wax that there is. Af mitzvah ina magina l'fi, ves ha-Torah b'ar, continues the Gemara 3 lines from the wide lines. And the Torah is equated to the ar, to the flame. What does that teach you? Loim l'cha, to teach you, ma'ar megin la'olam, just like the light protects forever, so too av Torah megina la'olam. V'omer, the Gemara quotes a pasuk to prove this point, a pasuk that we say by Yasiyam, b'salechecha tanche oisach. When you walk with it, it's going to guide you. V'gomer explains the Gemara. When you walk with it, it's going to guide you. What does this refer to? Zeh olam hazeh. This refers to this world. And when you lie down, it will guard on you. Zu misa. This refers to death. And that's a word that we should practice. It's a word that unfortunately many times by Yasiyam people have a hard time pronouncing. Sisichecha. that says the pasuk Vakitzaisa, when you wake up, he says it's going to advocate for you. That is la'aseh lavai. That's in the next world. So we see from here that learning Torah protects forever. Mashal Adam Sheimahalech B'ishayin Laila. It's a mashal. It's comparable to a person on the second white line that is walking in the darkness of night. Va'afela, and it is pitch black. Umisyare, and what's he afraid of at that moment? For multiple items. Mina kaitzim, he's afraid of the kaitzim, for the thorns that he might step on. Umina b'chasim, the cracks in the ground. Umina barkonim, and from the other different items, the thistles, the different items on the floor that could hurt him. And as well, umechayara min alistim, and he's afraid of the animals, and he's afraid of the robbers. So he's afraid of the physical thorns, cracks, etc., and for the wild animals and robbers. Furthermore, he doesn't know he doesn't have ways, so he doesn't know where to go. So he's afraid because it's pitch black. Where is he going to step? Just imagine walking through a forest without any lights, without the flashlight. So you're afraid where you're going to step, and you don't know where to go. So all of a sudden, it appears to him a torch of fire. So at that moment, he no longer has to be afraid of what's he going to step on, because he has a light to guide his way. But the torch is not going to help him from the wild animals. It's not going to help him from the robbers. And additionally, on the sixth line, and he doesn't know which way to go. What happens when the sun rises? Now is step 2. Now he's saved from the wild animals, from the robbers, because now it's the light of day. But he doesn't know which way to go. Finally, he reaches to a crossroads. Now he knows which direction to turn to. Nitzal mikulam. He is saved from all of them. Now, what exactly is the Parshas Terachim in the Nimshal? We will see in Mirz Hashem and Amud Beis. Davar Acher explains the Gemara another explanation. Aveira mechabe mitzvah. If someone unfortunately transgresses, it could extinguish a mitzvah. But the Torah is never extinguished. In Emar, Mayim Rabim lo yochlu lechablis ahava. Lots of water can never extinguish the love, and that's referring to the Torah. So what do we see? Asks, this has been a long and lengthy question. The question is that we see that mitzvahs don't protect that much. Only Torah does. So we're trying to figure out, how could this woman live for 3 years due to a schus that she has? She doesn't have the protection of the Torah. So explains the Gemara, Amar Rav Yosef, mitzvah be'inna da'asik ba migna umatzla. A mitzvah, while you're doing it, it protects you and it saves you from doing aveiros. When you're not doing the mitzvah, then agune magna, it protects you, but atule loy matzla, it's not going to save you. So we're seeing here is that a mitzvah does have the power to protect. So what's the mila of Torah? Torah, learning, bein dinya da'asikba, bein dinya da'layasikba, whether one is learning or not, magna umatzla, it protects and it saves. So says the Gemara, Rav Yosef explains that it could be that the mitzvah does have the power to save this woman. Maskif la Rabba. Rabba is not happy. Elameata asks Rabba about 20 lines from the bottom. First word on the line is lo yasik ba. Asks Rabba, doyig v'achita oifel. Milo yaska b'Torah. Did doyig and achita oifel not learn Torah? Amai lo yigina alayu. Why was the Torah not protecting them? You just told me that Torah, whether you're learning, whether you're not learning, is a megin umatzil. So how could Doig and Achitophel commit the crimes that they did? Elamai Rava, says Rava, Nubshat. Torah, when it comes to learning, Binna da'asikba, while you're learning, Magna Matzil protects and saves. Binna da'layasikba, Agune Magna can protect you, but Atuli Lamatzil, it's not going to save you from doing an Aveira. But when it comes to mitzvah, everything's dropping down a level. whether you're doing the mitzvah or not. Agune magna, it's going to protect, but atzuli lamatzla, it's never going to prevent you from doing aveiros. So this is how the Gemara is answering that it could be that what protected this woman from dying, it is mitzvahs. It just doesn't have the power to save one from doing an aveira. Says the Gemara, that's pshat number one, how this Sotah only dies 3 years later after drinking the mei Sotah. Ravina Amar, pshat number two, Lailam zchus Torah. Says Ravina, no. Really, it's a schus of Torah. But Utgamrid, you asked, you asked that 1 second. A woman is not commanded to learn. So answers the Gemara the famous answer, an answer that should be plastered on every wall of every person's house. It's true. It's true that a woman is not commanded to learn Torah, but Be'egra, she does get reward. How does she get reward if she doesn't learn? Be'egra demakrin umisanyon beinayu. Umisnayon beinayu, she gets reward for the fact that they're makri, they learn chumash, umisnayon, and they study their mishnayis, chumash and gemara. Who? Beinayu, her sons. And as well, v'natrin lehulik avrayu, and the wife waits for her husband at the asim ibei midrasha till he comes back from shir, when he comes back from Beis Medrash. Mila palgan bahadayu, does she not take a share with them? Does she not as well get the schar? So it's true, says the Gemara, she doesn't get the schar of learning itself, but because she enables her children to go off and learn Torah, she waits for her husband to come back home, she as well gets that schar. And we're seeing how extreme the schar is, that not only does she get the schar, it has the power to prevent her from dying, even if she committed an aveira. The ultimate Isha is chayil, as we're seeing. She encourages the kids to learn. She waits for the husband when he comes home, which as well as an encouragement for him to learn, and that is what a woman gets her schar for. We continue, says the Gemara, my parshas Terachim. When we read the mashal, we pointed out that we're going to learn, I think it said I'm going to base, but here it is right now. What's the parshas Terachim? It said that you're traveling, and the torch prevents you from stepping on the thorns. And the sun comes up and prevents you from the robbers. But then you still don't know where to go until you get to parshas Terachim, you get to the crossroads. So what's the nimshal when it comes to learning Torah? Amar Rav Chisda, 10 lines to the bottom. The first one line is Parshas Terachim. Zet HaMachacham v'Yom HaMisa. That the Yom HaMisa is that moment of clarity which prevents one from doing an Aveira. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Zet HaMachacham v'Yeras Chet. Mar Zucha Amar Zet HaMachacham D'Salg L'Shmeitza Liba D'Holchasa. That he learns down to Lach L'Maisa so he knows what to do. Tavarach, another pshat, Aveira mechabe mitzvah. An Aveira could extinguish a mitzvah. But ve'ein Aveira mechabe Torah. And Amar Rav Yosef elaborates, what exactly does this mean? Darshei Rav Menachem bar Yosi Laikra, he darshed in the following pasuk, Ki Sinai, as if he heard it from Moshe Rabbeinu, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Har Sinai. V'ilmolei darshu Daig v'Achitophel achi. And if Daig and Achitophel would have learned the pasuk, like Rav Menachem Rav Yosi is about to teach us the pasuk, Loid Rafu Basar David, they would not have pursued David HaMelech. Techsev, the pasuk says, Leimar Lakim Azvu v'Gaimer, as the pasuk says, Hashem has forsaken him. My darish. So what did Daig and Achitophel darish in that they thought that they could chase after David HaMelech? They thought that one only has protection if they don't do Aveiros. But they did not know Shaveira Mechabe Mitzvah. It's true. If one does an Aveira and extinguishes the mitzvah that he might have done, but the Torah learning cannot be extinguished. And finally, we conclude this section of today's shir. My boys, Yavaizu, the end of the pasuk says that all the treasures they would surely scorn him Amar Ula like Shimon Achi Azariah. This does not refer to like that of Shimon Achi Azariah of like Rav Yechim and Nisiyah. Ela ke rather this refers to Hillel v'Shivna. What does that mean? Tchiasi Rav Dimi Amar Hillel v'Shivna Achi Ave Hillel lasing v'Atayra Shivna of the Iska. Hillel learned and Shivna did business. The Saif Amar La at the end Shivna said to Hillel Amar Lei Ta Naraig Ta the last line Ta Naraig v'Liflik. Let us come together and divide that which we made. Baskal, Yatzas of Baskal, V'amram, Yitin Ishes, Kol Hain, Ve'isai, where a man to offer all the treasures of his home, etc. They would scorn him. Why would one give away such incredible treasures? So Shivna did not support Hillel while he was studying Torah like he should have. Therefore, he does not receive the schar of the Torah, even though later he tried to support him. And with that, we turn over to Chav Aleph Amid Beis, and we continue quoting the next part of the Mishnah that says, Omer ben Azai, Chayiv Adam Lilmoid Es Benai, Chayiv Adam Lilmoid Es Bitay, excuse me. You have to teach your daughter Torah. This was the Machlekes in the Mishnah, whereas comes along Rav Eliezer and he teaches us, no, Kol Melamed Es Bita Torah, Melame Tiflis, you're teaching her intimacy. So ask the Gemara, what in the world is going on over here? Tiflis al Gedaitach. How can this make any sense? We're talking about teaching their daughter Torah, and we're saying that it's like you're teaching her Tiflis, intimacy. Elaima kilu lamda Tiflis. It's as if you taught her Tiflis. Why? So now we see the incredible ability of Torah. We also see the destructive power if used incorrectly. If you look at the top line in Rashi, Rashi says, Shemitoichi mevina armumes. That via the learning of Torah one becomes wise, one could become cunning, and she could, if a woman learns Torah, she could come to do Averis. Amar Rav Avua continues the Gemara 4 lines down. My time with Rav Elazar. What is the reasoning of Rav Elazar? Dechsev Ani Chachma, says the pasuk, I am Chachma Shachanti Arma. I am and I dwell with arma, with cunningness, with trickery. What happens when Chachma, wisdom, Torah enters into a person? The incredible might of Torah could as well be the downfall, that it could teach someone to be cunning and it could cause her to do Averis. V'Rabbanan, Hayni Chachma, what do they do? Because the Rabbanan and Ben Azai held that you should teach your daughter Torah. What about the fact that we're learning over here that the Torah could make one wise and could eventually bring one to doing Aveira? He learns that, we learn from the pasuk of Ani Chachma Shachanti Arma. He translates the pasuk that the Torah is only miskayim if you're Arma. If you're as if you're arum, as if you are naked, as if you have nothing, that there's nothing to one's life aside for Torah, that's the sole and absolute pursuit. That is how one can be Makayim the Torah. Shenemar, Ani Chachma Shachanti Arma. And Amar Rav Yochanan ein divrei Torah miskayim el misha meisim atzmai kemisha einoi. You have to make yourself as if you don't exist. Shenemar v'achachma, as the pasuk says, and chachma me'ayin timsa. And from here the pasuk is learned out from nothing, and wisdom from nothingness. That's where it's going to be found. We're seeing the incredible importance of making oneself low in order to acquire Torah. 15 lines down, the first one line is Rav Yeshua Aimer, continues the Gemara, Ratza Isha v'chulu, that a woman rather, a kav of food rather, and intimacy more than 9 kavs, and to have precious abstinence. My kamar, what does this mean? Hachi kamar. Ratza Isha bekav v'tiflos imai. She wants the husband, the intimacy, mitishas kavinu precious. Hu Aimer, so he, Rav Yeshua, used to say Chassid Shaita, and we had 4 categories in the Mishnah, and the Mishnah labeled them as those that are destroying the world. So explains the Gemara 7 lines from the wide lines. Heichi dami Chassid Shaita. What does that mean? It sounds very funny. He's a Chassid, he's pious, but he's a Shaita. He's ridiculous. Explains the Gemara, Kigoin, for example, the Kakav Itza Benhara. There's a woman drowning in the ocean. And this guy, he's a chassid. You know what he says? I can't look at her. She's in the water. I can't look. In order to save her. So that's quite a shaita that he thinks he shouldn't be looking. Of course, you should be saving her life. Hey Chidami Rasha Aram. And by the way, the Mefarshim deal with, why is it a shaita? This person's a Rasha. Call this chassid a shaita. Okay. Rasha Aram, what is a Rasha? That is cunning. Amar Rav Yechran Zeh Matim Tvarov L'dayin Kodim She'yavai Baldin Chaver. This is one that says his side of the Din Torah to the Dayan before the other person, thereby convincing him that he is right, which of course is illegal. A Dayan is only able to hear the two sides together. So this is a Rasha that is Aram. He's cunning. He knows how to trick the Dayan. Rav Avua Aimer in the last narrow lines, that Noisin Dino La'ani. What is a Rasha that is Aram, that is cunning? He gives $1. He gives tzedakah to the ani, but what dollar? Lahashin loy masayim zos. He makes the ani not an ani. The ani has $199, which he says the din of an ani now. And this Rasha says, "Oh, I'll give you $1." And now he's not an ani anymore. Tetanan is learned in the Mishnah on the first wide line. Mishesh loy masayim zos. Someone who has $200, lo yita lekach shechul peya. He's not able to take any of the matnas Kehuna, Umaiser Ani, nor Maiser Ani. Hayla Masayim Chasa Dinar. But let's say someone has 199, Afilu Elef Naisim Lai. Kachas, you'll not even give him $1,000 at once. Harei Zayitol is allowed to take it, which parenthetically we mention, this is how it works. For example, when it comes to Purim time, we want to know how we all Mekayim the din of giving the tzedakah to the Ani. How's it possible? The answer is, if you give it at one shot, you're allowed to even get more, and you're not an ani right now, but because you got it one shot, it all's the din of staka. A third shot, Rav Asi Amar Rav Yechon Zamasi Itza Limkar Ben Achasim Muatim. What's a Rasha Aram? Someone who gives advice to sell when you have a little bit of properties. Tamar Rav Asi Amar Rav Yechon Yisayim Shekadmu Machru Ben Achasim Muatim. If Yisayim come and they sell when they have a little bit of property, Masha Machru the sales Mekuyam, and they don't get anything else. Abaya Amar Sugi that we learned extensively in Ksubis. Abaya, fourth shot, Zamasi Itza Limkar Ben Achasim Kar of Shimon Ben Gamliel. Titania Nechase Loch Vachreich Leplaini. As Rashbagi has taught us that if someone says, my nechasim should go to you and after you to so and so, the first one goes and sells. Vachla Sheni, Moitzi Miyad Alakucha is very Rabbi, but Rashbag Goimer, no. Ein L'Sheni Alamasha Shaya Risha, it's that's a Rasha Aram, that you're making a situation that he's not going to be able to get any of the properties. And two lines from the end of Chav Aleph Beis, Rav Yossi Bar Chama Amar Rav Shisha Zeh Machriya Acherim Bar Chaysav. This is one who he tricks people for ulterior motives. He tricks him. And Rav Zrika, sixth shot Amar Rav Huna Zamikalatzo Machal Acherim. For himself he's Meiko, but for others he's Machmir. That's a Rasha Aram. Ula Amar, a seventh shot. As we turn over to tomorrow's daf, Chav Beis Amar Aleph says, Ula, what's this referring to? What's the final shot of a Rasha Aram? Zeshekara Vishana. This is someone he learns. But he learns Mikra, he learns Mishnah, but he's not Mishamesh Talmidei Chachamim. He doesn't have a Rebbe, and therefore, as we'll see tomorrow, he learns and he judges incorrectly. We'll pick up from here in the next year. Emir Tzah Hashem.